Hey everyone, it's Joe Kopsick. It's Saturday, November 7th, 2020, 4 days after the presidential election. And if you want a non-biased interpretation of the analytics and the statistics that are coming out as results and returns of this election, and a prediction about what's going to happen over the next month, not just prediction, but explanation based on what the Constitution and the 12th Amendment say, then you found it. You found that explanation. I'm going to explain to you a website where you can run endless simulations about how you think the election is going to turn out and try to predict the results before they happen. That's 270towin.com. So I've been studying from a few different media sources from all different different parties what's going on in these 6 different key swing states of Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. So right now I'm going to color in Michigan for Biden because Biden has 156,000 vote lead according to AP with 99% of the vote in. So that's the most clear state that's going for Biden right now. Wisconsin is the next clearest, but I'm not ready to color that in. I'm still going to consider it a swing state because they have 32,000 votes left to count, and the margin of victory is 20,000. So that's narrow enough where it's possible that Trump could take the lead. It's not likely, but it's possible. So I'm going to talk about these 6 states. So we already went over the numbers in Michigan, but here's what's going on in Michigan on the ground. GOP and their observers were denied the right to do any counting. That was according to Trump. Poll workers duplicated ballots and blocked GOP observers' views of the vote counting. They covered windows in cardboard to block legal observers. This is all according to Trump, keep in mind. Some of this stuff, I'm just reporting it because I heard it. I haven't been able to verify all of it, but I'm just telling you what different sources are saying, just so you know what the news is. Because you're not going to hear all this information coming from just the same partisan source. I'm a nonpartisan source. Unexplained delays of counting, and there's now a petition to stop the counting. Polls closed at 8 p.m. on election night, but then 140,000 or more votes, allegedly all for Biden, Trump was one of the people who said that, came in from an unknown location. 2 sources have said that. Trump said either 2 or 4 a.m., and, whoever said, I don't remember who said the other. It was probably Kayleigh McEnany or something. In Wisconsin, some people were saying the turnout was 89%, which was statistically impossible, but actually statewide the turnout is 71%. But it's possible that 89% figure came from one of the counties where it was reported that some dead people voted, or there was a higher number of people who voted for the president this year than the number of registered voters. And it's possible that they were just letting people vote without verifying their signatures there. Haven't looked too far into that. But right now we're not ready to call Wisconsin yet, so we're going to keep it beige for now. But yeah, all 5 of these states are at high likelihood of all going for Biden, so that would give him a clear victory. But we're going to talk about situations in which Trump could win and situations in which there could be a tie. But first, let's talk about the other swing states. In Arizona, 90% of the results are in, and 240,000 votes were left to count as of Friday, which was yesterday. Filming this video on Saturday. And according to AP, the margin of victory is 20,000 votes, and CNN says 29,000. Arizona, Maricopa County is the most populous county. That's why the votes were coming in late. Fox News called Arizona for Biden, and then the counting stopped. The counting continues now. Late mail-in votes favor Trump. It's the only state in which late mail-in votes do favor Trump. And the Republicans and Trump's press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, wanted voting to continue. See, here's the thing. I might have made a mistake there. She wanted the vote counting to continue. So yeah, you might hear a lot of mistakes made. People mistaking vote counting for voting stopping. And that's why there's a lot of difficulty, and people are so confused now. In Nevada, 88% of the results are in. 140,000 votes left to count as of yesterday afternoon. AP says 25,700 margin, and CNN says 22,000. On the ground in Nevada, especially Clark County, where Las Vegas is, there's a petition to stop the counting, but counting continues nonetheless. The remaining votes are mail-in and provisional, and therefore likely to favor Democrats, according to Newsweek. Again, just reporting what they're saying. I don't know how to fact check that. I would if I could. Pennsylvania, 99% of the vote is in, but 67,000 are left to count. CNN reports a 21,700 margin of victory. Let's go to Pennsylvania. According to Trump, the Democrats tried to go to court to ban the GOP election observers, and the GOP won, but the Democrats are going forward with it anyway. Trump says observers were kept far away from poll workers, and they put paper on windows to stop them from seeing the poll workers working. Democrats allowed the votes to be received 3 days after the election without postmarks. Pennsylvania state legislature and the Constitution say that late votes cannot be counted, according to Kayleigh McEnany. The results were expected Wednesday, but the counting continues. The postmark date is what matters, not the date it's received. There's a petition to stop the counting. McEnany wanted the vote counting to stop. In Georgia, 99% of the results are in, and as of, a few days ago, there were 50,000 left to count, but as of yesterday, that was down to 4,000. So that's smaller than the margin of victory here, which is listed as 4,020. That came from CNN just about half an hour or an hour ago, about noon or 12:30 p.m. on November 7th. Fulton County and Atlanta, that's the troublesome area. The 11th Circuit Court ruled the votes must be in by Election Day, and they came in afterwards too, which were probably mail-ins. This was according to Donald Trump. Trump also said that officials refused to determine the eligibility of voters and verify their identities. And if you want to look up about the history of Georgia election fraud, specifically in hacking of voting machines, look up a documentary from 2006 called Hacking Democracy. And there was a woman who tried to uncover this information called Stephanie Tubbs Jones, and she ended up dead just 2 years later in the middle of the Democratic primary, in which she was a superdelegate. She had a heart attack while driving and died under very suspicious circumstances during a very important primary election. Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Now I want you to take a look at these numbers. It takes 270 votes to win, and that means a tie would be 269 to 269. So the Democrats are at 243 if you grant that Michigan is going to go to Biden, and take the other states as swing states now, because we're still not sure. Let's just say we're still not sure. So the Democrats, in order to get to the tie number, 269, they would have to go from 243 to 269, which is a difference of 16. Now look at these states. Look how many ways you could get 16 added to that total. 26. You could add Wisconsin and Georgia, which is a total of 26. You could add Pennsylvania and Nevada, which is a total of 26. You could get Arizona and Georgia, which will get you 27, and that'll put you at 270. So there's actually 3 other scenarios in which it's either 269, 269, or 268, 270, and that is on one of my latest blog entries. 6 ties and near ties that could be the outcome of the 2020 U.S. presidential election. So here's 6 maps I figured out. 4 ties and 2 near ties. Tie is an extremely likely possibility because there's 6 chances of it. And even those 270 to 268 scenarios, those could turn out to be 269 to 269, or 270, 269, or 269, 268 or something, because of the possibility of faithless electors. Now you're probably asking, isn't it illegal to vote against what the majority of the state says? Well, no, not in 15 states. See, here's how it works. There's a thing called the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, and it's only in these green states in which electors are literally bound by law to support whatever the majority says for the president. The yellow states are trying to pass those laws and trying to join that interstate compact, but haven't done it yet. So in those green states, faithless electors aren't allowed. Now there was a court case that said states can bind presidential electors' votes, but that doesn't mean that states have to bind presidential electors' votes. Each state still determines how it sends its electors to the Electoral College. because if it didn't work that way, then we'd have federal control of our elections. And that might be good because all elections would be, the same in a way, but it could be bad because the federal government might never relinquish control and just have fraud elections. So we wouldn't want that. So we let the states have a little disagreement. December 8th is the deadline for resolving election disputes, and the Electoral College doesn't meet until December 14th. The electors meet in each state and cast their ballots for president and vice president. And by the way, they do this separately, president and vice president. So you can read about the 12th Amendment, and it actually explains what happens in the event of a tie. And I figured out which states don't punish or fine faithless electors and which states are not members of the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. And I figured out that these 15 states, the ones in red, faithless electors can vote for anyone, anyone who's eligible to be elected president. You have to be a citizen for 14 years and at least 35 years old. So what does that mean? That means that in any one of those states, a faithless elector could swing the election. Now, what happens when the election is 269-269? Let's say there's a faithless elector in Illinois who shifts from Biden to Trump. And let's say these are the states that are happening. So then you get a 269-269. Or say he votes for like Ron Paul or Colin Powell or Howie Hawkins or Joe Jorgensen or something. By the way, you don't have to be running to get a vote for faithless elector. There were 6 faithless elector votes, including for, I think, John Kasich and Ron Paul and an Indian guy named Spotted Eagle, Native American guy, in Texas and Washington. So yeah, there are several states in which there could be faithless electors. And the most important ones would be ones that could potentially switch from Biden to Trump and make a narrow Biden victory into a 269-269 tie. Now, think about this. This is the craziest part of all of this. Because of the 12th Amendment, here's what would happen in the event of a tie. It would go to the House of Representatives. If no person have such majority, then from the person having the highest numbers not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president, the House of Representatives shall choose immediately by ballot the president. But in choosing the president, the votes shall be taken in states, the representation from each state having 1 vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. So that is so much legalese, I almost can't understand it, but basically it goes to the House of Representatives, and then something really complicated happens. I'm sorry. I can't even, yeah. But anyway, if there's a tie, it goes to the House of Representatives, and then something fucked up happens. So I want to know what that fucked up thing is. And I maybe would like a faithless elector to nominate someone else, because if that someone else gets nominated, like especially if they have 2 votes instead of 1, like let's say there's 3 faithless electors and like 1 votes for Ron Paul and 2 vote for Colin Powell, then Colin Powell and Trump and Biden would be the 3 top electoral vote getters. And then the House of Representatives would choose from among those 3 top vote getters. As it says, having the highest numbers not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president. So they could potentially choose the third place winner of electoral votes, which would be whoever gets the most faithless electors in the event of a tie. This is only if there's a tie. That's what I'm talking about. And here's the craziest thing of all. Since the president and vice president are elected separately, it's possible that there could be an elector, maybe a faithless elector. I guess it would have to be someone who likes Trump but doesn't like Pence, or someone who likes Pence but doesn't like Trump. Or it could be someone who likes Biden but not Harris, or likes Harris but not Biden. What if some faithless elector in the Electoral College on December 14th when they vote, what if somebody voted for Kamala Harris? Like, what if it was 270 votes for vice president for Kamala Harris, 268 Pence, but 270 for Trump and 268 for Biden? Well, that would give us a Trump as president, Kamala Harris as vice president. And that's because they are elected separately. Biden-Pence administration could happen too. if there's a tie and just as many as one or two faithless electors decide, I like Trump but not Pence, or I like Kamala but not Biden. I'm saying her name wrong. It's Kamala. I want the craziest possible thing to happen in politics, basically, because I would just love to be able to teach people about things like this. And I guess I just did. So like I said, there are 6 possible scenarios in which we could have an almost tie, and I wrote about that. You can go to www.aquarianagrarian.blogspot.com and go to my 2 most recent articles. 6 ties and near ties that could be the outcome of the 2020 U.S. presidential election, and 15 states allow faithless electors to cast protest votes without limitation or punishment. And you can see some other videos I made explaining that. I just had one addition before we go. So like I said, the Electoral College votes on December 14th, but the votes are not counted until January 6th, which is a full 3 days after the new Congress is sworn in. So what do you guys think? I want to know in the comments. Do you think Trump will hang on to those states like he predicted the night of the election? Or do you think Biden is going to hang on to all his leads that they declared overnight at 2 or 4 a.m. after all those votes came in? Should those votes be counted? I want to know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.